Hello friends, welcome back to the Rio Moon Oracle. I'm Rayo and today we are here with another tarot review. I really wanted to talk about this deck because I've been using it a lot lately and it just makes sense for the time of year we're in with Halloween. The day I'm filming this is actually Day of the Dead, November 1st into the 2nd. So we are talking about the, let me flip it real quick, the Santa Muerte deck. Santa Muerte Tarot Book of the Dead by Fabio Listrani. And this deck is one I've been using a lot more frequently lately because I finally feel like I have the skill set and ability and energy to handle this deck. What I mean by that for this deck specifically, there is heavy ancestral and cultural energy that ties in with this deck. People that have like Spanish, Mexican, Portuguese, even kind of like Rome Catholicism energy. That all that ties in very heavily with this deck because of Day of the Dead and the imagery that's associated with it and that connection to that imagery, that culture, those elements. So for those of you that have this kind of cultural background, I think it's a really good deck to have because it does connect with that ancestral line, that ancestral energy, if you are interested in that element. For those of you that don't, I think this is a deck that'll call to you if it feels like it fits for you. So not to gatekeep it or anything in that regard, but it's just a deck that has very specific cultural elements to it. So that can be either a help or a hinder depending on your situation. So how this came, I got it off of Amazon and it came just like this in the box like this. Here's front and back. We've got the Santa Muerte on the front right there. We've got kind of that sugar skull imagery on the back. And then it just opens right up like this and we have our cards in our guidebook here. So pulling that out here. Cards and cardstock, right? So this is just kind of like the little design card that comes with it. This is what the back of all of our cards look like. We've got that skull imagery that's pretty common. There we go, focused in. And that flower imagery, a little bit of kind of like Aztec with like the glyphs in the back. That Mexican Aztec kind of piece right there, right? So in our guidebook's about the same size here, which is really nice. And then our cards. Cardstock is pretty thick, which is nice. These are actually like heavy cards. It's a little bit more weighty to handle in that regard because the cards just feel really heavy. But with our like glossy finish that it has right here, this allows it to shuffle really well. This deck shuffles is one of the best that shuffles out of all the cards I have, out of all the different decks I have. This one is one of the ones that shuffle like top tier, top best on it. So I know when cards are popping out for readings that it's very specifically for that situation because I can shuffle this deck so well. It's not repeated cards because their cards are sticking or they just are how they sit together. The deck shuffles really well and moves through itself really well. So any cards that are coming out repeatedly are cards that Santa Muerte is said that says need to be in that reading. That was my experience with when I was doing zodiac readings. Like I literally like shuffle, each of the cards are moving individually, not getting stuck to each other, and the same card came out multiple times. So I'm like, okay, Santa says this is what needs to be in this reading. That's what it says it needs to be in the reading. So again, very strong, intense energy for this deck. So keep that in mind. It was a deck that I had to build up skill and energy in order to feel like I could use it properly. When I first got this deck, it wasn't one I reached for immediately because it was kind of intimidating and not one that I'd use it when I like needed kind of like a slap in the face. Like when I was like, okay, I really just need to know what's going on. I want no bullshit pretty much. This would be the deck I'd pull because it'd be like, yep, here you go. This is what's going on. This is what it is. And no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that energy was very present, which was why it was a little bit intimidating to start with, and that I didn't feel like I could use it to the best of my abilities and its abilities at the time when I first got the deck. And now as I've been doing tarot and doing readings on YouTube, I built up my skill, built up my energy for readings, and I've been reaching for this a lot more, and especially for this time of year. For Halloween, November, Day of the Dead, all that energy, that veil being really thin around Samhain right now. It's an energy that I'm much more in tune with at the moment. So our guidebook here, very small. It comes in multiple languages, which is nice, but it's only probably about the first 40 or so, 50 pages. Let's see. 53 pages of the guidebook here, this amount right here of the entire guidebook that comes in English. So just keep that in mind, but it does come in multiple languages, which is really nice. We have descriptions of each of the cards, but the description is both like the positive and negative, the upright and the reverse of the card at the same time. And then it has a little section underneath, which is the advice of the dead, which is really cool. So just get a little close-up look at that, right? So we see this is 3 of something over here. See if I can tell what it is. I cannot, but 3 of something here, and then it tells you a little bit of advice right here, which I think is nice. And it's like getting advice from your ancestors almost right off the bat. It does give like little descriptions of the suits. Let's see if it'll focus on that. There we go. So you see pentacles and money right there at the top. So it says material center, to live, earth. So it dives into the energy of the zodiac elemental suit energy a little bit more, and that really shows up in like the colors of the cards. So this is the Ace of Swords, all of that. The Ace of the Swords suit have this kind of like yellowy color to it. Let's see another one. So this one, yeah, some like kind of like yellowy color. All of the Cups cards have like a blue kind of color to them. And that hearts imagery is present as well, right? But the big difference you'll see, the deck's a little bit different from the original Rider-Waite imagery. You see that a lot with the 10s in this deck, because the butterflies are present. It's all very similar to like a butterfly for each of the 10s here versus what the original Rider-Waite imagery is. So keep that in mind as well for this deck. You can use your Rider-Waite knowledge in order to read the deck, but some of the cards are not going to match up exactly with the Rider-Waite imagery. It really ties in with the Day of the Dead imagery more so, and you have to read this deck a little bit more intuitively, I feel, or use the guidebook, but the guidebook doesn't give you a ton either, so that really allows for intuitive knowledge and intuitive readings, which is also why I needed to build up my skills in order to read this deck. So yeah, here's more yellow, right, for our actually, that's Pentacles, my bad. So closer up, we see the green. Pentacles have that green coloring to them. And then our Wands have red to them. Let's see. Yeah, here's the Page of Wands. All the Wands have a red background kind of coloring to them. The Swords have yellow, the Pentacles have green, and the Cups have blue. So that imagery, there's a lot more numerology energy in this deck, or numerology type readings, or like color theory, color energy that is present in this deck as well. Let's see what else. What do I want to talk about? Yeah, that's our guidebook, nice and thin. This is a very good travel deck too, because it just all comes in this box. So our guidebook and the cards are all together like that. So easy to travel with, easy to shuffle, heavy deck in both weight and intensity. Yeah, here's like our 10 of Pentacles too. That butterfly is the same. You get similar Rider-Waite imagery, like here's our devil right here, right? So we see the devil figure and a couple people on marionette strings, some of the mariachi on the bottom there. So that control element being there. So similar Rider-Waite imagery, but not consistent and not the same across the board, depending on the cards and the personal meanings of each card, right? With this deck, yeah, I think it does benefit you if you have ancestral background in the culture, Day of the Dead, that this deck does give off. I don't think it's one that just only those people who have that background can use, but I do think the deck will call to you otherwise and give you the energy in that, like, how do I want to say this? Those who don't have a background, like a Spanish, Portuguese, cultural kind of background, right? Mexican, Catholicism background here. You can still use this deck, but I think it's going to work for you maybe a little bit differently. Anybody who does use this deck that doesn't have that background, please leave some comments down below. Tell me about your use of this deck and how the energy feels for you. Because it might just be for me, for the weight of the ancestral knowledge was why, the ancestral background was why this deck took me a while to build up to, because I wasn't ready for it at the time. I've been doing ancestral work in my own personal spiritual practice, and this deck has been of better use to me, and I've gotten more used to it as I've been doing that work and working through that energy and connecting with those roots. So I'd be curious to see how it feels for others that have the same background as I do and those that don't. So let me know down in the comments below if you have any of that. But let us do a reading with this deck now. So Santa Muerte, please give me a... What do those watching, what do our viewers who are watching this video right now need to know? What are those that are watching this video right now need to know? Thank you. As it falls. Okay. So when I talk about the Santa Muerte being very firm about the cards it gives, so this is actually the second time I've recorded this video because the first one was too long and I talked too much and rambled on. And I did a reading and this was the card that came out. So just, that's funny to me. But this is the Queen of Cups here. So let me read out the description from the guidebook for the Queen of Cups. The Santa Muerte's, it's a funny deck. Love this deck. Chalices, okay. So Queen of Chalices. So here's a picture of it if you want to see. Pause if you need to. So it says the Queen of Chalices fully represents the favorable energy of which the suit is a part. Generous in feelings, capable of spreading affection and spontaneity. She is a maternal and intuitive person, and only in certain situations will she transform into an attractive, dangerous woman, dishonest and capable of creating misunderstandings and scandals. So with that, right, we see both the positive and the negative, or the upright and the reverse meaning of this card in just the one little description. But our advice of the dead is you can completely trust your intuition or that of a female figure who is near to you and whom you believe to be reputable. So good to know. I'll include at the end here the first reading or first video take I did of this with the Queen of Cups coming out, just so you can see, but it's just really funny to me. Santa Muerte is very, very firm about what it wants to talk about. So at the end of the day, this is not a deck I'd recommend for beginners. It's a deck that I think you need to build up skill for because of just the intensity of the energy here. I think it benefits those who have the background in this culture, in this energy, but I don't think it's I'm not going to gatekeep it to those people specifically. I think that if the deck calls to you, it calls to you at the end of the day, and therefore you can use it. So that is all I have for us today, friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you had a happy Halloween and happy Day of the Dead, depending on when you're watching this. I'm filming it around that time of year, so I just wanted to offer that congratulations and thankful energy out to the world. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. So Santa Muerte. For those watching this video, what do we want to impart on them today? What knowledge, what information do we want to impart on our viewers today, those watching this video? Thank you. Do upright, reverse, in the upright. Okay. So Queen of Cups energy. Let's focus in here.